Hello guys, welcome to Tech Mode, and today we are going to learn more about Jmeter. So it's basically a second tutorial that I'm going to discuss about Jmeter. And in this tutorial we are going to discuss mainly about how what are the Jmeter components. So if you have any doubt related to what is Jmeter and how you can run your Hello World, you can watch my the first tutorial where I have discussed thoroughly about Jmeter installation as well as how we can learn more about getting started with Jmeter. So this is a second one. All right, let's get started. So Jmeter components includes various things. For example, it includes like test plan, creating a thread groups, samplers, listeners, assertion, config elements, logic controllers, and timers. So we'll discuss more about this one by one, and these are the main components of JMeter. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me in comments and all. So let's get started. Let's start with the test plan. So before starting the test plan, we can look at this diagram. And in this diagram, it is shown that the test plan is the main plan, is a kind of the starting point of a JMeter performance testing that we are going to do. So after test plan, we have thread groups. Thread groups basically are the kind of, you can say, the number of users that you want to uh, continuously hit your server. And after that, we have logic controllers followed by config elements, listeners, and samplers. So we are going to discuss more about in their upcoming individually when we are going to discuss. So let's start with the test plan. So what is the test plan in JMeter components, or as well as what is the test plan in JMeter? So whenever you open your JMeter, you will see the first thing that you will see on the left hand side is the test plan. So test plan basically contains the steps to execute your script. So what are the steps to execute? Whatever the steps that you wanted to execute, for example, you want certain request to be followed. These are the included in your test plan, right? So it's basically what is this that whatever the request that you have mentioned one by one, so it just follows them into top to bottom. So and one more thing, the test plans are stored in jmx file .jmx file. You can look around on your file explorer, and generally elements in the workbench, for example, as we have discussed in the previous tutorial, that workbench allows you to record any scripts and use them into real world. But uh, whatever you have saved in workbench is will not be available in the test plan. All right. So another another thing that we wanted to discuss more about, the second one is linked to the thread group, right? So before that, let's look at how test plan looks like in JMeter. All right. So I have JMeter open with me. So this is JMeter version 4.0, and you can, if you wanted to download, you can go to Jmeter website, jmeter.apache.org/download underscore jmeter.cgi, and clicks the binaries function, basically binary link. Uh, it's a link related to Windows, and if you're on Mac and all, you will find the respective links according to your operating system. So after that, you have downloaded it. Just run the in the Windows, you can just run the jmeter.bat file, and it will open the Jmeter for you. The first thing that you see here, this is the test plan. So test plan includes, so this is the test plan where you, what you can do is that you can name your test plan, and you can add user defined variables here. For example, if I wanted to use a name somewhere in my test plan or thread groups, I can define it as define it here. And there are a bunch of different options related to thread groups and all in the test plan, but we will look into it when we are creating our own test plan in it. All right. So let's go to the slides again and learn more about different other things, and then come back again to create our own JMeter file. All right. So the second thing that we wanted to cover is thread group. Thread group basically is a group of users which will hit the website concurrently. So this is the basically, you can say, main block of JMeter performance testing, where the first thing that you have to add on test plan is the thread group. Basically kind of group of users which will hit your website. So in the example, as you can see, what we are doing is that we have passed uh, a number of thread is equal to 100 and ramp up time is 1 second. So what exactly is doing is that 100 user will try to come up concurrently, and there and we are targeting that it will be ramp up in a 1 second. But generally with the low, if we have low uh, you can say configuration of machine, it will take time to reach 100 users, right? So another important thing that we need to keep in mind when we are thinking about the number of thread groups is that the first thing is the thread number of thread basically define the number of virtual users, and the runtime time is basically the amount of time which total load will be generated. All right. And few more options that threadgood provides is like loop count. So for example, if you wanted to loop, for example, if you have mentioned number of thread as 100 and ramp up the period time around 3 minutes, and you wanted to loop around 4 times and 5 times, so you can mention the loop count. As well as scheduler is basically kind of thing that you wanted to run from a particular set of time and all, then you have to checkbox the schedules. So let's look at into the Jmeter again. So what we are going to do is that we'll just add a thread group, and here are the options that I was going to discuss about. So, so uh, we have third number of threads 1, ramp up period time 1 second, and loop count we are basically just running one time. And in the scheduler, if you wanted to use it, you can just checkbox and mention that for 200 duration I want 5 50 seconds delay. So for it will run for two duration of 200, and there's a delay of 50 seconds in it. So we are what we are going to do is that we'll basically learn uh, more about it when we are going to prepare our practical example. All right. So let's move on to next one. This example that I have showed you about thread group. So the next thing that we're going to discuss about is the samplers. So samplers, you can say basically these are the type of requests that we are going to make. So suppose we have a website and we wanted to test it out. So the main request that we are going to do is that HTTP, HTTPS, FTP or TCP, what kind of request whatever we are making, these are the samplers. So samplers basically comes, let's do one thing. Uh, you can right click on it as sampler, and what we are going to do is that we will just click on add and sampler. So so these are the options that are available in sampler. So we can make HTTP request, we can do test actions, debug sampler. So debug sampler basically what it does is that just outputs whatever debugging information that we have. We can make FTP request, JDBC request, for example, making to database request and all, and different kind of request you can say, whatever it is. So these are the basically included in sampler part. All right. So next we are going to move towards listeners. So listeners are basically, you can say, these are used to display the results of text execution that you have done. So for example, you have made one HTTP request, and these listeners will basically what is that they are just attached to that your request, and whatever the results response that comes and all, you can see them on the table, tree or graph, whatever it is, and you can use those using listeners. You so this is the basically kind of concepts that we have to know before running JMeters. And the listeners basically include kind of things like view result trees, uh, summary report of your JMeter, aggregated graphs and all, whatever it is. So basic idea is that you run your test cases, and whatever requests that you are making are ramp samplers, and whatever the results you are getting, you'll get on listeners. All right. So that was all about it, and let's do one thing. Let's again quickly see. Let's jump to JMeter and see. So what we are going to do is that we just click on right click and make a HTTP request. So this is a one sampler that we are going to add. And one more thing that we are going to add is that uh, one listener. So last one. and we are going to add a view result tree. Uh, Here in this HTTP request, what we can do is that we can make a GET request to any anywhere. For example, let's do one thing. We just do one request towards to google.com, and we can see the result here. So let's save it, and let's save it thread with the name of thread group jmx. It doesn't matter, and we're going to click this button, run button that we have seen, and we'll just see in the our listener. We click this one, and again we are going to learn here. Oh, it's scheduled. That's why it will not run. All right. So we are going to make 10 number of requests. Don't put load on different websites. We are just not putting website load on it. We are just testing it out, and we just again save it and do our. So these are the 10 requests that we have made. So and you can see the response and response data from google.com. So this is a simple task that we have done, and we have used samplers and listeners, and we have learned more about it. So thanks a lot. And in the next tutorial, we are going to learn more about the next Jmeter component that we are going to use. And see you on the next tutorial. All right. Thanks.